Iranian officials claiming that it is a biological weapon. We've got some Russian officials claiming that it is as well, and they're pointing the finger at the United States. Israel, some Israeli officials are also saying, yeah, it might be a biological weapon. They're claiming it was China that unleashed it. China hasn't really said anything, and the United States is saying, no, that is a hoax.
News about the coronavirus.
Into a coronavirus quarantine facility.
11 people have died.
Coronavirus in Los Angeles. The nation's deadly outbreak.
What's up, everybody? Pedro over here. New video, martial law, the whole thing. It's a long video, but stay tuned and watch the whole thing because it's very important. Please like, share, subscribe.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
That declaration unlocks $50 billion in federal funding for states and territories to deal with the growing pandemic of the coronavirus.
Americans are the strongest and most resilient people on earth. And in the coming weeks, we will all have to make changes and sacrifices, but these short-term sacrifices will produce long-term gain.
The United States military remains ready and capable of defending the American people, protecting the nation, and safeguarding our interests abroad. And in that context, our second focus has been on supporting the president and the whole of government approach to the coronavirus.
I'm also pleased to report today that a vaccine candidate has begun the phase 1 clinical trial.
Researchers in Seattle gave the first shot of that vaccine to volunteer Jennifer Hallett.
The less travel, the more we can contain the virus.
Nous sommes en guerre. Why is this necessary?
You know, we want to look back on this and say we overreacted, we did too much. So the clock is ticking for us.
Are you considering instituting a nationwide lockdown, a nationwide quarantine?
At this point, not nationwide. We may look at certain areas, certain hotspots, as they call them. We'll be looking at that.
That Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb's latest executive order is now activating the National Guard.
Yeah, we don't know where they're heading in Indiana, but the governor's order does say that they're here to support and assist with the coronavirus public health emergency.
1,000 National Guard troops to help with the state's COVID-19 response. Brigadier General Dwayne Wilson, who is the director of the Joint Staff, says they'll fill in where the governor needs them.
At the direction of General Tim Gowan, today, 1,000 Maryland National Guard soldiers and airmen have been fully activated.
To make sure that we in the state of Texas are taking every step possible to make sure that we're going to be capable of responding to what is going on. I am, at this moment, activating the Texas National Guard to assist in our response to COVID-19.
Governor Hogan has also called on the Maryland National Guard for support.
The governor has just activated the National Guard.
Getting the breaking news.
Under the militia law, the governor can call on the National Guard in troubling times.
It pretty much gives him the authority to use the National Guard for any purpose that he deems fit.
Responding to emergencies, transporting people and supplies, and helping with medical care. Just some of the functions of the Maryland National Guard.
There's no end to this mission at this point in time.
With 400 soldiers and airmen already activated, that number is expected to grow to 2,000 as the Guardsmen await their assignments.
A lot of times it doesn't really matter what the mission is. We're going to do the best that we can.
Is this the new normal until the height of the summer? We'll see what happens, but they think August, could be July, could be longer than that.
We have the National Guard that has already been activated in 18 states. Nearly 2,000 guardsmen are available. And also, we're doing considerable work in terms of our vaccines and therapeutics. I had the chance today to go to Fort Detrick in Maryland. It is a world-class facility. The U.S. Army there has been on the cutting edge of a number of infectious diseases. As you may recall, they helped with the solution to both Ebola and Zika, and they are working pretty aggressively to come up with a vaccine for the coronavirus.
We'd much rather be ahead of the curve than behind it, and that's what we are. Therefore, my administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible. avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
As this plane landed with some wearing full protective suits.
Welcome back.
29 people from Wisconsin who had endured more than a week of quarantine at sea and on land were finally home.
We were really proud to be a part of that and getting them home.
This is the first mission the Wisconsin National Guard has been assigned to since the coronavirus outbreak began. So far, passengers haven't shown any COVID-19 symptoms.
Because these people are asymptomatic, really it was just a matter of some social distancing and ensuring that our personnel were careful, and the people who were coming home were wearing surgical masks as well.
Captain Joe Travato says the Guard has a diverse skill set if called upon for more tasks, as it has been in other states.
Some have assisted with testing. Some have assisted with transporting people home, like we have. Others have even assisted with supply drop. We stand ready for any mission that the state asks of us.
Meanwhile, there is progress to report tonight on the coronavirus testing front, with the opening of New York's first drive-through testing site and approval for the state to start processing samples at many additional laboratories.
A thumbs up from a heavily suited healthcare worker as the first drive-through COVID-19 testing site opens on the East Coast. The National Guard is here to assist and, on the off chance there are problems, enforce the rules.
Our guardsmen are transporting them currently to their homes throughout the Commonwealth.
See if I can get this on video. School buses in front of me here. Been seeing a few of these this morning here on the road. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's an Army vehicle. I don't know why the school bus is following it. I know they make tanks up here, up the road. Follow it a little bit and see what's going on. Alright, well, it's obviously heading up the road. We will see how many more go through town. This is the third one I've seen so far. I'm going to turn around right here.
That drive-through testing for COVID-19 will be available in select Walmart locations.
Stores like Target, Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS plan to make room in their parking lots for the tests.
And we know Walmart as the go-to spot for groceries and pretty much everything under the sun. But now it's a business President Trump's tapped to help fight the growing coronavirus outbreak.
Walmart, the nation's largest private employer, is enacting an emergency leave policy after one of its associates tested positive for COVID-19. A memo about the positive test in Kentucky went to 1.4 million United States associates. According to the store's new policy, if an associate is unable to work or uncomfortable to work, they can stay home.
Today, Walmart is enacting an emergency leave policy for its nearly 1.4 million hourly workers. The nation's largest private employer announced it will allow employees to take off time without penalty if they fear the spread of the new virus. Workers will even receive up to 2 weeks' pay if they're required to quarantine by the government or by the retailer. This after the news that a Kentucky employee tested positive.
Meantime, Walmart and neighborhood markets are also changing their hours. The stores will be open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. until further notice.
Grocery stores are changing their operating hours throughout central North Carolina and the rest of the country in response to the coronavirus outbreak. Beginning tomorrow night, Harris Teeter will close stores at 9 p.m. to focus on cleaning and restocking shelves. Publix is closing at 8. Wegmans is adjusting its operating hours from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And Walmarts that were previously open 24 hours will do the same.
Late Sunday night, an unprecedented recommendation from the CDC.
all in-person events of 50 or more people should be canceled for the next 8 weeks. The news comes amid chaos and gridlock at airport customs checkpoints. From Dallas to New York to Chicago O'Hare, thousands upon thousands of travelers returning from Europe forced to stand shoulder to shoulder over the weekend for 4, 6, even 8 hours waiting to get through customs and newly required health screenings.
In the very near future. In fact, the governor today announced that a new drive-through testing facility is now in San Antonio. The video that you are seeing is of a facility in another state, but the drive-through approach here is very similar. Also, corporations like LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics will join in the testing process as well in the coming days, pushing the capability to test numbers into the thousands.
This week, we saw these satellite images emerge of what appears to be a graveyard in the city of Qom. Now, Qom is where this virus is believed to have first taken hold in Iran and where most of the cases have been reported. Now, these satellite images show this vast graveyard expanding significantly since October.
President Donald Trump says he's invoking the Defense Production Act to help private production companies fight the coronavirus outbreak. Also, the Trump administration is tightening America's borders to try and stem the spread of the virus. The president says the U.S. and Canada have agreed to close the northern border to all non-essential traffic, but says trade won't be impacted.
Here at the Department of Health, behind these doors, about 20 Arkansas National Guard soldiers are taking calls from Arkansans with questions about the coronavirus. These soldiers are easing the workload for the Department of Health right now.
The National Guard says before Saturday, the Department of Health had a backlog of 800 calls regarding COVID-19. Since the Guard stepped in, they are down to about 10 calls.
C.B. Smith Park in Pembroke Pines is now closed and has been chosen as a site for coronavirus testing. That testing will happen in the park's parking lot. Chopper 4 was over the park earlier today, where you can see the National Guard is on the ground and getting the park prepared.
Given the explosion of the COVID-19 virus in our state and globally, I will sign a statewide executive proclamation later today, temporarily shutting down restaurants, bars, entertainment, and recreational facilities. And so we need very strong measures to reduce the extent and pace of this infestation. This is our only weapon available to us right now. I want to reiterate that. We are not powerless against this virus, but we have one effective means of defeating it, and that is distancing ourselves from virtually everyone else in the state of Washington.
And the key with going out is being smart. The experts say social distancing is key to trying to slow down the spread of coronavirus, and they say it should not be taken lightly.
Can you tell us about social distancing regarding the coronavirus?
Well,
So you guys, how do you feel about the social distancing and the coronavirus?
I mean, I feel fine, to be honest. Like, everyday life, I think is okay.
How do you feel about the social distancing, coronavirus, and all that kind of stuff? Right, well, how do you feel?
How do I feel? I miss it.
You miss it?
I miss the touch of other people.
Guys, real quick, how do you feel about social distancing regarding the coronavirus?
We don't need that.
Huh?
We don't need that.
Guys, he's suppressed.
Real quick. How do you feel
Okay.
about social distancing and the coronavirus?
Any social distancing? Absolutely not.
Hey guys, how do you guys feel about the whole social distancing thing in regards to the
I
coronavirus?
love social distancing. It's
So,
the
how do you feel
greatest.
about coming out to bars, nightlife and such?
I hate
Any
New York
comments?
City.
Thank you.
You want to mess with fish town?
You want to mess with fish
Oh, what are you filming?
How do you guys feel about social distancing and in regards to the coronavirus?
I mean, I didn't want him to kiss me for nothing, so like you can ask him about it. When he tried to grab me, and for nothing, yeah.
Excuse me, don't touch me.
I'm
not gonna touch you. I want to fucking get rid of that footage almost immediately.
Yeah. How do you feel about social distancing and the coronavirus?
Right now. The social, that shit.
Distancing. How do you feel about
Tell us, just come here.
Get out of your neighborhood.
Stay away 6 feet.
Mr. fucking mainline shit.
Together.
So coronavirus fears are separating a local husband and wife, one now inside a FEMA hotel in California and the other at a military base in Georgia, both quarantined along with more than a dozen others from Kings Mountain in Gaston County.
It's an announcement that led to some anxiety among locals who remember the Louisiana National Guard's presence here after Katrina. So we wanted to know, what will the Guard's role be this time? Paul Murphy reports.
National Guard troops are no stranger to New Orleans in times of trouble. They are now back in the city responding to the coronavirus.
We're prepared to fulfill any function the city asks us to help them with.
National Guard Commander Colonel Ken Bailey said so far 104 citizen soldiers and airmen have been activated for missions in New Orleans and Jefferson Parish. New Orleans Homeland Security Director Colin Arnold hopes to have drive-up coronavirus testing sites, 2 in the city, 1 in JP, ready to go by Friday.
We've started to take deliveries from the federal government of the necessary, the testing kits and the necessary protective equipment and supplies to do it. We provided at the city and state level quite a bit of material as well to set up the sites.
National Guard troops are expected to perform other duties such as site security and traffic control. They're also helping to stand up state and local buildings as overflow facilities for coronavirus patients if needed.
Early on, we did some engineering assessments of some city properties to judge their suitability if they were needed in response to the coronavirus outbreak.
When we get into these situations, you just have to roll and keep going until it's over. That's what they do.
Clean gear, field day, that kind of stuff? How do you do that?
Yes, sir. All.
Governor Gavin Newsom has put the California National Guard on alert. He wants soldiers to be ready to protect food and medical supplies, enforce the law, and provide humanitarian relief. No units, though, have been called up yet.
And tonight, the National Guard is on alert. Governor Newsom directed the Guard to get ready to carry out humanitarian missions across the state. What does that mean? Well, those are things like food distribution and supporting public safety. The Navy is getting ready to launch 2 hospital ships and a mobile field hospital. One hospital ship is currently in San Diego. The other is in Norfolk, Virginia.
Well, Ms. Carl was just pointing out there, you're responsible for tens of thousands of students. You're talking about moving to online classrooms.
I think it's just kind of a ramping up of like learning the technology, figuring out what each teacher is expecting.
College students spent the day scrambling to pack up their belongings and move home. Classes for Harvard and most other Boston area schools will go online for at least the next several weeks. Some are doing it for the rest of the semester.
Thank you. With more companies urging employees to work from home, Amazon just expanded its policy to include New York and New Jersey. So that got us thinking, how are you supposed to do that effectively? So we brought in Vicki Nguyen with some tips on that. So what can people do today if they think at some point they may be forced to work from home?
Yeah, so many companies are doing it. You mentioned Amazon, Facebook, Google. This is the time to prepare. Take stock of what you're going to need to do your job effectively if you have the luxury of doing it from home. That's a computer, that's a laptop, that's internet connectivity to make sure that you can actually log into your work remotely and securely. Calendars, planners, think about this. A lot of us don't have printers anymore. Yep. How are you going to print documents that you need? Is your company going to help you offset those costs? And also, this is the key. Test that stuff out to make sure you can actually do it and it works before you leave the office.
Are there certain apps, perhaps, that people should be downloading that might help them work from home more effectively?
Yeah, there are a bunch that you can familiarize yourself with right now. Slack is great for sharing files and messages. FaceTime and Skype, everyone's familiar with those for video conferencing. Hangouts is fantastic. You can actually video conference 10 people or have a group message with Google Hangouts for up to 150 people for free. And if you need to message anyone internationally, Messenger on Facebook or WhatsApp will allow you to do that.
Special equipment that people should have.
think about it. Does your laptop or your computer have a camera? If not, you may have to invest in a webcam for all that video conferencing. Make sure you have a strong Wi-Fi or Ethernet connection. And this isn't something you might want to invest in, noise-canceling headphones if you work in a noisy environment.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus?
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate.
More broadly, we'll need to start treating China like the dangerous Cold War-level adversary it has clearly become. Don't let them lie to you. This crisis began in China, and that's significant. Whether the coronavirus escaped from a bio-research lab, as independent Chinese scientists have claimed, or arose in a filthy street market selling wild animals for food. Either way, China is an imminent threat to the United States. One of the few upsides of this pandemic is we can now see that clearly, because it is clear. But some of us can't see it. Amazingly, our ruling class is taking China's side. And that, again, is the good news about a crisis. It clarifies things. You can see exactly what side people are on. Now, some of our leaders are doing this on purpose because they're getting rich from China. Many of the media are just too dumb to know the difference. Dumbness is almost always the explanation for how they behave. So the Chinese have decided to use wokeness against us. Wokeness against us. The most racist power on earth. This is the country that puts Muslims in concentration camps. The country that stamps out Tibetan culture. The country that would not accept a single Somali refugee at gunpoint. This country is calling us bigoted.
Make the case for why a revolution is not what the country needs or wants.
We have problems we have to solve now. Now, what's a revolution going to do?
So could artificial intelligence play a vital part in providing some answers and maybe even improving the outcome?
And we have an army, okay, as a soldier and as a general, as a retired general, we have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, what we call, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics. And that story will continue to be told here, but we have what we call citizen journalists. Okay? Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
New measures to digitally track coronavirus patients harm a basic constitutional right, the right to privacy. That's the message from attorney Shachar Ben Meir, who has filed a petition against the Israeli government. He says that even a dangerous new virus shouldn't create a regime where the government decides everything and there's nobody to monitor or counterbalance it. But for many government officials, sacrificing privacy is a small price to pay for public safety.
נכון, יש פה פגיעה מסוימת בפרטיות, יש. אנחנו צריכים לאזן בין הזכות לפרטיות שבשגרה זו זכות מקודשת, לבין החיים, קדושת החיים. עכשיו, בשגרה, זכויות הפרט הן קדושות, גם בחירום, אבל אנחנו נקריב רמה מסוימת של זכויות הפרט כדי לשמור על חיי אדם וכדי למנוע אסון המוני.
The Shin Bet Security Service would be allowed to use phone data to track the movements made by coronavirus patients to see who they've been interacting with in the days and weeks before and after they've been placed in quarantine. The data would then be relayed to the Health Ministry, which would send out a message to those who were within 2 meters of the infected person for 10 minutes or more. Many locals seem to be okay with allowing the government to monitor their phones if it means keeping them safe.
I have no problem with the government using surveillance equipment to help fight this virus.
But some, like Dr. Tehila Schwartz-Altschuler at the Israel Democracy Institute, fear that the data will be used in other ways after being collected.
We cannot be sure that the data is going to be deleted. We cannot sure that the data is not going to be crossed with other data sets that the Shin Bet is holding. That's why I think that we should have used other good measures.
机器人会根据这个空间的大小，自动的计算出我需要的照度指标，然后机器人还会通过各种各样的传感器检测这个环境中是不是有人。如果有人，它需要把对人有害的消灭方式能够关掉，并且语音提醒他离开。
我是防府公安巡逻机器人，警方提示，请大家戴好口罩。注意个人卫生，不要前往人流密集场所。身体若有不适，请及时就医。
两位大妈，请戴上你们的口罩，赶紧回家，赶紧回家！别看了，大妈，说的就是你呀！把口罩戴上，赶紧回家，赶紧回家。
Video conferencing software company Zoom is one of the biggest winners from the crisis. Removing time limits for its video chats is looking to help keep business meetings and student learning afloat. Google and Microsoft also announced they would give free access to video conferencing services and live document collaboration. And Google's parent company, Alphabet, says it'll work with US health officials on creating a tool to help detect the coronavirus.
Clients and patients and people of interest can go, fill out a screening questionnaire, move down for symptoms or risk factors.
There is an enormous amount of work underway right now to increase NHS capacity and to accelerate plans to change the way people can access health services. I'm here in Wester Hales Health Centre just now looking at the technology that we are accelerating the rollout of right now because of coronavirus that allows patients to consult their GPs through video link from their own homes simply by using a smartphone or an iPad.
Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses which may cause illness in humans or animals. In humans, several coronaviruses are known to cause respiratory infections ranging from the common cold.
Imminent disruption of Kenya's academic calendar seems to be in the offing. But as KTN News' Timothy Otieno is about to reveal, some institutions are now getting much-needed reprieve by using technology to ensure that their students remain in class.
The rest of us, please, let's switch off our microphones. Let's listen to Jasmine's question. Yes, Jasmine?
Mine Mutoro, an English teacher at the school, is conducting her second lesson of the day. The only difference is the teacher and her students are in two different locations. To mitigate on the adverse academic effects of the indefinite suspension of learning across Kenya,
this coronavirus seems to have shaken up life as we know it. Inevitably, it's going to continue to spread. But how far and fast that's going to happen and what we're going to do about it are still in question. So could artificial intelligence play a vital part in providing some answers and maybe even improving the outcome?
And everybody's trying to do that in the right way. I think the second piece is that
how do we use this as an opportunity to really get going on the things that we've been talking about for a long time, which is how do we use technology, how do we use remote working, how do we ensure that the tools are there to ensure that people can work effectively on video conferences.
Well, there's a new security device being used in Walmart parking lots in Arkansas. This is what we're talking about. It's called a lot cop. Our Caitlin Zollner found out how it will help reduce crime in this week's You Ask, We Investigate report.
If you've gone by the MLK Walmart, you'll notice that there's some flashing blue lights in the parking lot.
Those flashing lights are coming from lot cops.
It's something that's going on nationwide, and it's just finally made its way here to Northwest Arkansas, and we look forward to utilizing those tools.
And remember, they don't just capture video.
Just know that they're out there at the Walmart parking lot, that you're going to be recorded, and recorded for sight and sound whenever you're in that parking lot.
There are also lot cops at other Walmart locations in the state, including in Little Rock, Pine Bluff, and Searcy. The retailer says store selections are based off internal criteria.
Alarm Central has been notified.
In Fayetteville, Caitlin Zollner, KNWA, Northwest Arkansas News.
Now, we have reached out to Walmart to find out why it added security devices to its stores. This is what the retailer had to say. Lot cops are another example of Walmart investing in technology to help deter and, if needed, detect an identity of criminals. These investments are enabling us to assist law enforcement, making the stores safer and ensuring our customers have an enjoyable shopping experience.
One other thing that we're seeing is these social media giants cracking down on fake posts, fake messaging. Facebook coming out just today, its head of health, saying they have a team of fact checkers around the world who are looking for misinformation relating to the coronavirus, and they say when those fact checkers rate information as false, we limit its spread on Facebook and Instagram and show people accurate information from these partners. And they say that they will also send notifications to people who already shared or are trying to share that content to alert them that it's been fact-checked. They say they'll remove false claims or conspiracy theories if they are flagged by an international health organization or local health authorities, but not just if the average person flags them. So there's lots still out there. I was looking across all these platforms this morning.
It's easy to find. General Wilson says a big part of this, too, is also fighting misinformation.
China and others have criticized you for using the phrase Chinese virus. How do you feel about that? Are you going to continue using that phrase?
Well, China was putting out information which was false, that our military gave this to them. That was false. And rather than having an argument, I said, I have to call it where it came from. It did come from China. So I think it's a very accurate term. But no, I didn't appreciate the fact that China was saying that our military gave it to them. Our military did not give it to anybody.
Critics say using that phrase creates a stigma.
No, I don't think so. No, I think saying that our military gave it to them creates a stigma.
And changing gears now, and turn to a consumer alert for those of you in the town of Abingdon, Virginia, or those who are traveling to the region. Heads up, the area will be having some planned power outages today. According to the Abingdon Police Department, the areas of Sutton Street, Colonial Road, West Main Street, and Depot Square will have outages as repair work is done. They are expected to take place through 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. No red lights, though, will be affected.
Actually can't even watch this. They can't get any power this morning. This is an update from Rocky Mountain Power showing us 39,000 people without power this morning. You see the main bulk of those areas, about 16,000 right there in that western part of the Salt Lake Valley, about 6,000-ish or so just east of that. Different pockets here have so many people experiencing so many outages. And if you're one of those people here this morning, I know that UDOT crews, and you got not only working on the roads, but you have Rocky Mountain Power doing what they can to be able to get power back to as many people as humanly possible.
Right.
You know, Americans are stocking up on bread and water and toilet paper. Yes, toilet paper. You've seen the pictures. You've probably been in line at the store. But tonight, we'll tell you what else your fellow citizens are buying in big numbers. National correspondent William LaJeunesse shows us from Los Angeles.
Coliseum Guns, how can I help you?
From New York to California.
With everything rapidly declining, it's now or never.
To Colorado.
A little bit of maybe I won't be able to get it tomorrow, a little bit of uncertainty.
Gun sales around the U.S. shooting sky high.
They're like literal zombies. They don't care. They just want something. They don't care what it is, what, make, model, doesn't matter. Just give me something. That's all they want.
The FBI says background checks surged to a near record of 3 million in February.
I'm afraid of what might happen. If they go into martial law, they can't get to the markets or have food. They're going to resort to probably looting other people's houses or whatnot. So I'd just rather be safe than sorry.
I know everyone's scared right now and they're uncertain. So what you're going to experience is people preparing themselves.
You're in the Air Force, right?
Marines, actually.
How long are you here for?
A few weeks.
30 seconds left. Just get us in field goal range. 22, 22!
The blackout may run along the entire northwest corridor.
What's going on? Get to the cabin.
Jake, you take care of your brother, you hear me?
Go now, go. Why are you still can? Let's go!
If you're seeing this broadcast, you are in a part of the country no longer controlled by the government of the United States.
Now, I was listening to this video about a guy named David Goldberg. Now, I'm not sure if that's his real name or not. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him or not. But this man had some knowledge, a tiny fracture, but enough to put a target on his back, considering he was killed in June 8th, 2019. So not long ago. They are barely releasing notes, messages, hidden codes, or events that are planned to come. Plans in the making. His friends are keeping an active channel for him and releasing research, information he had, notes, anything to share with the public that he would have brought light to. Okay, now it's about 28 minutes long, but I believe the information is important. He was uncovering operations that they plan to kill 15 million people. YouTubers, conspiracy theorists, those who are open-minded, who question the media, those who are awake basically. And he's saying that they're going to go after these people. Some of you may be asking how, because there's many of us. Well, they are doing it through targeted diseases, military operations, etc. He says they're not going to do censorship anymore. The real goal is to eliminate these people. They are in kill mode. So you let me know what you think. Give it a listen. I will give the links of the videos in the description box so you can check out yourself.
Hello everyone, this is David Goldberg again. This is probably going to be one of my most important videos that I've done yet. We're going to discuss a couple of things, new things that have come up. I have received classified documents from my White House insider, and we also have some memos that I've referenced in the past, and I'm going to walk through everything that I've been deciphering and learning from these videos. Excuse me, from the documents that I've received. So, we'll get into this. The crux of it, I want to just introduce you right away. What is it all about? This is it. This is what the documents reveal. There are too many people waking up. There are too many Americans, more and more of them, that are suspicious of Israel. More and more Americans aware of Zionism. This has been around for decades and decades. You go back to the 50s, 60s, there's a lot of literature about Zionism, about Judaism. It's not unusual, but the difference is today, more and more people are waking up to it. It's been a real tipping point where you always had maybe about 0.5% of the population that was aware of Zionism, that did not like Jews, and whatnot, but they were never part of the mainstream. They were always dismissed as conspiracy theorists. They had no influence. So they were not really a threat. But that has changed. And you know that has changed. Anyone paying attention knows that has changed. We have seen a big change in comment sections on YouTube, many people making references to Zionism. It has become a part of the nomenclature through the influence of 8chan, 4chan, many, many websites, and ultimately many, many YouTube channels that have been speaking the truth very aggressively for many years, but it has really gotten attention lately. It is somewhat of a cumulative effect, a snowball effect, where more and more people start to wake up to the truth and the facts, and it just expands, and people become more accepting of it, and they start to say, okay, it's okay for me to look at the information. I'm not an anti-Semite for looking at it. And it really starts to click for people. So this has been a big change in the recent past few years. What happened is that Israel, its agents, its propagandists, have been paying very, very, very close attention to this over the past few years. They know this is happening. They are very concerned about it. We are talking about 0.5% of Americans who have some idea of Zionism and they're against it and they understand it. That number, according to these documents, is now about, I saw two numbers. They said 15%, and another one said 7%, but that is a very large number of Americans that have woken up to what's going on with Israel and Zionism and the Israeli lobby and the influence. They're unafraid to hate Israel. That number is very high, and it has them very concerned. This is much of what the classified documents talk about, but we'll get into that more. I wanted to set it up for you so you actually understand what this is really about. What I was given from the White House Insider. The main part that you really need to know, though, is they have a plan for all of this. So I'm going to talk about that now. There is discussion within these documents years ago to ban the YouTube channels, to shut it down, all of that. But they changed course. They made a decision to do something completely different. And they decided, instead of censoring everything, to fund and promote gatekeeper channels, shill channels, to simply gather and collect all the open-minded people who are looking at the issue. And they did shut down some of the legitimate channels, and that has actually happened. If you're following some of that, you are aware that there have been channels that have been shut down, almost completely eliminated. Some of those channels were not a part of the original gatekeeper channels. They have no connection. They are truth-telling channels. Some of those they've eliminated that they felt were a threat or that might be calling out the gatekeeper channels. So, I'm just looking through some of the documents here and seeing what I want to talk about next. One really interesting aspect of all this is that the gatekeeper channels and the shill channels, typically these would be disinfo channels. Disinfo channels like Alex Jones, for example, has been a long time disinfo Zionist channel. Very, very active in deflecting people away from Zionism. Alex Jones talks about everything, but he never talks about Israel. So that is an active disinfo channel that's been around forever. What they created with these new gatekeeper channels is very truthful channels. They're very honest. They don't put out a lot of disinfo. They are actually legitimate. And that is done to give them credibility among these people who are awake, who are waking up. That was very specifically done, the documents to talk about that. Now I'm going to talk about what is the purpose of the whole operation, and the purpose of this is to put out truthful channels, to attract people to them. They call it tag, track, and ID. It is a term used throughout the documents, TTID. It's something you want to remember. This is very common throughout these documents. They're referred to it all the time. So what does that tell you? They want to tag, they want to track you, and they want to identify who you are. If you are watching these channels, if you are informed, if you are awake on these issues, they want to tag you, they want to track you, and they want to know exactly who you are. They want to know, and it talks about the tracking people's IP addresses through YouTube. They have access to YouTube. They do know who you are. So this is discussed a lot in the documents. I'm just looking through it right now. And there are two projects, and it's very important to listen to this. Project Pogo is one of them, and Project Zypher. I will spell that one. ZYPHR. Project Pogo and Project Zypher are the two projects that the classified documents are referring to, and each has a different role. Project Pogo is about the YouTube gatekeepers, how they are all agents. They are all paid to put out truthful information so that they can tag, track, and ID the people that are watching the videos and giving them likes and giving them comments. They're tracking all of it. Project Zypher is a different project, and that's what I'll talk about in a bit. That is the second stage here. That is coming up. And that is the extermination. They're going to exterminate these people, whether it is tag them for anti-Semitic speech, charge them with crimes, eliminate them completely, and this is where I'll talk about in the documents where they talk about guillotines, viral attacks, targeted, how they're going to eliminate these people without too much suspicion, without too many people noticing. But here's the problem. As I read the documents, I can see I have documents from 4 years ago, I have documents from 2 years ago, and then I have documents from 3 months ago. So there's a progression in the timeline as the projects change. And Project Zypher has changed. In the beginning, they were talking a lot about, okay, we are going to infect these people with a virus that imitates the flu virus. They're going to eliminate them in various ways that would not be suspicious. In the documents I have now from 3 months ago, they are saying the amount of people they have to eliminate is too large. It is too many. We are talking about millions of Americans. And this is where we see their plans are changing. And they are going to initiate something that is devastating and that is extremely frightening. And based on what I can see in the documents, we're talking about power outages along with a purge. They're going to come in, they're going to take you out of your home, and they're going to put you into a military vehicle or whatever, a van, and drive you away and place you into a camp. It is a very, very big operation that they're planning. It is millions of Americans. They will do it under the cover of night, under the cover of blackness, during one of these planned blackouts. The blackouts are based on documents. I'm just looking at it right now. They have a 3-day blackout. They have a nationwide blackout that lasts 2 days, and a lot of localized blackouts. So it is a whole series of blackouts that they're going to do, And of course it will be blamed on all kinds of things. They might blame it on Iran. I have seen that mentioned in the documents. They've already prepped people for this. There are going to be more blackouts. There are already predictive programming, so we may see more of this as we go on. As far as I can tell from Project Zephyr, or Zephyr, they are planning this next year and the year after. They are not done tagging, tracking, and identifying everyone. It looks like they're at about 78%. I looked in the documents, and there were a couple of indications of how far along they feel the project is. They're like 78% done, but they're not completely done. It does take time to identify a YouTube account and then track it to the email that it was created with, and then the IP address, and then find out who created it. It does take them a lot of time to do that. It is not instant. It does take a lot of research, because a lot of people create a YouTube account with an email address that doesn't give any indication of who they are, an account name that doesn't have their full name on it. They don't use their real pictures. So it is a challenge for them, and that's why the project has been going on for so long. But it is coming to a close. In the next 6 months to a year, it appears it is coming to a close, and that is when Project Zephyr will be initiated. So I have some notes here. I'm going to continue on and talk a little bit more about. Right, they're being tracked, they're being identified. That's the whole point. A lot of people have said, well, why are some of these YouTube channels allowed to exist? Why are they allowed to so openly talk about the truth? And some of you might know Adam Green, No More News, and there are a whole bunch of others, and they're very, very open about Zionism, and they're very honest about it, and they're telling the truth. I mean, they are telling the truth. They're not hiding anything. They're not disinfo. They're not putting disinfo out there. But as far as I know, they are they're all a part of this operation. I can't say specifically if Adam Green is a part of it or not, but I would assume possibly he is. He has probably been guaranteed a lot of money. He's probably been promised a lot of things. He could be a Freemason. He could be a part of their operation. He could be an agent. I don't know. I have no idea. It is total speculation on my part. I have no idea. All I know is this is part of the operation, what they want to do. His channel would fit into the MO. It is an example I'm giving. He is there to tag, track, and ID. Not him specifically, but the people behind the operation who are doing all the research and all the people who are commenting and viewing and liking. They want to know who they are. They want to know where they live, and they are going to eliminate them at a date in the future. Completely eliminate them. This is going way beyond the idea of passing laws to ban speech, which they're already doing. They've done it in America already, but not very aggressively, and we will see more legislation of that nature. But they want to completely eliminate these people because they do stand in the way of the agenda. There are too many people that are waking up. It is way too many for them to handle. They're starting to have an influence, and they're starting to change the conversation online. It is of grave concern to Israel. Something that the memos that I received, I won't talk a little bit about the memos. The memos are different from the classified documents. The memos are White House internal memos that discuss a wide range of things in terms of Trump's meeting with rabbis, discussions with Netanyahu over the phone. And one of the memos says that Donald Trump will have to declare himself King of Israel publicly. This is part of the process for them. It doesn't. There's no strategic reason for it. It is symbolic for them. Trump is going to declare himself King of Israel at some point. I don't know how, but they're talking about it in these memos over and over again. When he's going to do it, why they want him to do it, which again is symbolic. It has no strategic purpose, apparently. It is part of the process of the end game, basically, is what I'm saying. So we'll see if that happens or not. It sounds ridiculous. I can't imagine him actually saying it. But maybe he will do something like that. We will look out for that in the coming months. Based on my reading of the classified documents and the memos, so much of what is going on is planned. They've given people the impression that Trump has brought chaos to politics, but it's actually the opposite. It has been planned. Donald Trump's allegiance is to Israel. He's not only a Jew, he is a Freemason. They have promised him, his daughter, the sons, will enjoy very high-level ranking within the world government that they are forming, the capital which will be Jerusalem. So that is why Trump is so dedicated to following the script, while performing the way that he does. It appears to be very authentic to his followers. Everything he's done, talking about the wall to the fake news, was scripted from the beginning around 2014 and 2015. And according to some of the memos I'm reading, he loved it. They introduced all of this to him and he loved it. They told him the plan. You're going to become president. You're going to say this and this and this. He loved it. He's already a little bit of a racist. He's already predisposed to some of this rhetoric. So he loved it. He jumped on board. And they promised him great things, especially for his family, if he were to follow through on these things and simply follow their script. And he does have leeway. He has leeway to say many things that he wants to say. He has a lot of fun doing this. But he does have script writers, and there's one of the script writers, I forget his name. He's bald guy. I want to remember his name. It's important to say it. Well, he is a big part of this. He writes a lot of Trump's tweets. He crafts a lot of it. Oh, I cannot remember. I'm going to have to look him up right now. Trump's speech writer. Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has a big role in all of this. He is a dedicated Zionist. He has a lot to do with a lot of this. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, if you want to find out who's really behind it, Stephen Miller is a big part of it. So that is the whole of it. I want to get this video out. I want people to hear it. I want people to know what's going on. I've had some strange things going on in my house. I've noticed black SUVs. I mentioned it before. They're still there. I still see them every once in a while. The other day, I went out to try to approach one, to confront them. Like, what are you doing here? I know you're here. And they drove off. As I could be right when I opened the door, and I look outside, I see them drive off. So, I don't know, maybe it was just coincidence that they were leaving and they saw, I don't know, but it seemed like they were very, very prepared to get out of there. So the next time I see them, I'm going to confront them quickly and make sure that they don't have time to get out of there before I have a chance to get down there, and at least they see me coming for them. I will try again. But I have seen them mostly at night. I open the window, I look out the window, and that is when I see them mostly. So I want to confront them. I'm tired of the harassment. I know they're watching me. I assume I'm bugged. I assume there's some way to hear what I'm saying, but I don't care anymore. I have been given the documents. I have been tasked with this duty to get the information out. I'm going to do it in any way that I can. I have given my friends copies of all of these. I have stored them in different places. I have a dead man switch in case something were to happen to me. So I've done my best to prepare because I feel like this is getting very serious. I mean, the documents they show me are terrifying. The plan that they have in place. I would expect they have this plan of gatekeeping and tracking people, but they're going to take it to a new level with Project Zephyr. They're going to take it to a new level. They're going to exterminate these people, one by one, through the blackouts. I mean, it says in the classified documents they're planning to pick them up. They're just going to physically pick them up. They're also going to use all kinds of other means to eliminate them. Not just the high-value targets are going to be picked up. The lower-value targets will be given viruses, targeted viruses, that activate either right away or over time. They don't want it to be too obvious that all of a sudden a whole bunch of Americans get sick. Of course, there will be official stories in the news media. Okay, there's a flu outbreak, which indicates to me this will probably happen in winter. Not this winter, but possibly the winter of 2020, 2021. From what I'm reading from the documents, that is the timeline. It is not specific, but that is where I feel it's going to be, because they want to do a flu outbreak, and it will make sense in winter, and people won't question it. They have to eliminate a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people, high value targets. It's going to be so many people that disappear that people will ask questions, so they have their cover stories, and they're getting them ready, and they got them in place. If this were a few 100,000 people, they could do it, but it is millions and millions of Americans that they want to eliminate. I think it's 15 million. Based on what I'm reading in these documents and some of the numbers they've used, which has not been totally specific about it, but it looks like 15 million. But it could even be more. They want to eliminate them completely. Because it's becoming a problem, and it has been a problem for a few years, and this is their solution to it. In addition to that, they want the world government, they want all of these plans to move forward. They cannot have opposition, because the things that are going to happen are going to be very, very radical. You're going to see the dissolution of the United States of America. You're going to see world leaders and the media endorsing something that is so crazy, and that is the dissolution of the United States of America and the endorsement of a world government seated in Israel. A lot of Americans aren't going to accept that, but they have to eliminate the people who are going to call out what's really going on. From my reading of the documents, how they're going to roll all of this out and justify the dissolution of the United States and many other countries as well, it appears their plan is to do all countries at once. It's going to be under the cover of financial collapse. Well, we have to do the world government. We're all going to die because the financial system is broken down. That is something that is talked about in the classified documents. That ultimately will be the cover story after they do the purge and eliminate the dissidents, the people who are woken up to Zionism. There will be a total financial meltdown, and they will say, look, we have to do the world government. We have to come together. We have to create this new currency. We have no choice. The chaos is too serious. It'll be probably 6 months of complete financial chaos. Food shortages, rise in crime. Many, many people will die. Millions and millions of people will also die from this. And then they will justify it and say, look, we have to do the world government. So that is what's going on. I'm about done. I'm going to do another video. I have more things coming up. I have a lot more planned because there's more in the documents that I need to discuss. I'll be back with another video soon. Thank you for listening, and I'll do more soon.